States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil. At this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign.
British government published its own dossier saying that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction that could be ready in 45 minutes.
The intelligence picture they paint is one accumulated over the last 4 years. It is extensive, detailed, and authoritative.
It wasn't true. This is the Iraqi defector who invented those stories. Western agents called him Curveball. Now he says he made it up. But why?
The old regime was a dictatorship, and that caused a lot of problems for our country. I had to do something for my country. So I did this, and I am satisfied, because there is no dictatorship in Iraq anymore.
And does he have any regrets?
If I could go back to 2000, if someone asked me, I would say the same thing, because I wouldn't want the regime to continue in our country.
The conflict was over quickly, or so it seemed. Then came the aftermath. It started with looting, it quickly became an organised insurgency. Saddam Hussein was captured and executed, but that didn't stop the violence. Pictures emerged showing the abuse of Iraqi prisoners by American troops.
Our country had an obligation to treat them right. We didn't, and that was wrong.
Violence between Shia and Sunni Muslims intensified. The murder rate in Baghdad tripled. The US solution was the surge, an extra 20,000 troops.
It may very well be one of the most controversial companies in our country's history.
Blackwater USA has been called the largest private army in the world.
The jury in Washington convicted
of law in December prosecuted one of your men for first-degree murder for killing Ahmed Rubai and his mother at Nisour Square.
Yes.
And hold on, let me finish. 3 other men were prosecuted for manslaughter. 4 of your men, murder and manslaughter, in not Iraqi courts, US courts.
That's right. And they prosecuted them 4 times, and they finally got a conviction. The first time he was thrown out for prosecutorial misconduct.
Guilty. They found him guilty.
No. The first time he was thrown out for prosecutorial misconduct. The second time it was overturned. The third time it was a mistrial. The federal government finally got them in a DC jury on the 4th time they tried.
DC jury, not a legitimate jury.
I would say a jury of your peers does not really compare to the rest of America. No, that's
okay. Look, the people your men were fighting in Iraq as barbarians who crawled out of the sewer. You say in your memoir, these were the chanting barbarians American troops had been sent to liberate?
Sure. If people that think it's okay to drive a car bomb into the middle of a square, into the middle of a marketplace, while to attempt to kill an American, and in doing so they kill dozens and dozens of civilians, absolutely that's barbaric.
Which is true. I think if you refer to terrorists, you call them whatever you want. But you said these were the chanting barbarians American troops had been sent to liberate. You weren't sent to liberate terrorists. Sounds like you're talking about Iraqis.
Sir, look,
your words from your memory.
The decision of Iraq.
It's not a perfect place, but we're leaving behind a sovereign, stable, and self-reliant Iraq.
For all of this, I express more sorrow, regret, and apology than you may ever know or can believe.
To buy electricity to cope with the hours of daily blackouts. 10 years after the war, it's a symbol for much of what's wrong with Iraq. A crumbling infrastructure, unreliable services, and a tangled web of bureaucracy and corruption.
Iraq,
And in Baghdad, there's no shortage of ways in which water is used. To wash cars, to clean shop fronts, to store freshly caught fish before they're gutted for sale. Everything, it seems, except drinking it.
Nobody drinks the city water because we know it's not clean. Since the war, I've had to rely on bottled water. What comes out of the tap is contaminated and makes us sick. How can we drink?
Transparency International ranks Iraq as the 8th most corrupt country in the world, which in part helps to explain why services are still lagging. Most of the reconstruction money was squandered through fraud and abuse. Just one example, the government awarded $1.7 billion worth of fake electricity contracts.